My void will consume you, if you ask nicely.
Your will is no longer your own.
Stay away from the voodoo. Toi!
You have led the Horde to a place without honor.
Your petty quarrels only make me stronger.
Our world needs us, champion.
You got it over your head.
We cannot let the world fall to darkness.
Already lost.
Put your faith in the light, and all is possible.
Is it truly righteousness that drives you? I wonder.
It would seem you have guests.
They are coming for you. This is the Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to Whispers of War, show number 64. I'm your host Sil, and let's jump into how was my week in Warcraft. No news on Classic front, I'm afraid. I have to make use of that AV event, so Classic is postponed for the moment. But who knows, you know, I might all of a sudden get the bug and jump into it next week. But for this week, none at all. So let's go into a Battle for Azeroth. What have I been doing? Well, lots of stuff really. My shaman, my baby shaman, is now level 25. I'm leveling her quite slowly. I know I can do it a lot faster if I dump into dungeons, which I want to do. But I'm a little bit hesitant because I want to do resto, and I'm rusty when it comes to healing. I'm really rusty. So yeah, it's one of those things that will come in time. Maybe when I'm level 30 and I have a bit more healing spells, but at the moment I feel rather weak with the healing. So that's my baby shaman. I always start off leveling in Duskwood for my allied races. And I really love Duskwood, so yeah, everything is like, okay, I'll do the same quests over and over, but you know, it's just my favorite area. Other than that, it's been AV, so I'm constantly doing the Battle for Korak, and it's, you know, I'm enjoying it actually. I'm enjoying it more than I realized. The rage in some of the battlegrounds is very real. I've seen a lot of people swear. I've learned more swear words as well, which, you know, is never a bad thing, I guess. I've seen a lot of AFKers, which is also the reason why some people are raging so much. You know, it happens. It really happens, and I can't be really bothered with it. So, you know, c'est la vie. But I went from 10 level 120s to 13 now, so I have 13. I'm very close to having 14, but I took a little bit of a break this weekend, just because I've been doing it too much and I don't want to get completely burned out, because I have a fair few to go still. So that's what's been happening. I think my, you know, every time I got a bit like, okay, well, I'm a bit done with the 110 grind to 120. I'm just going to go on a lower level alt and just try that. And most of the time it was Horde that I was playing now, just because the queue times are a lot longer than on Alliance. So for Alliance we have about, on my server, 3 to 4 minutes wait, whereas Horde it was 15 to 20, and yeah, the battlegrounds go a lot faster, and especially for Horde, I think it evens out because you do win a lot, so it pays off. So it's not too bad, but you know, sometimes I was like, oh, I just want a quick queue time. Okay, I'll just jump on my baby warrior who was level 71, and now she's level 80. So it goes quick. I mean, that was just one day, so it goes really quick. And yeah, I know, I'm still enjoying AV, and I'm still doing Korak. I actually, you know, I did my good deed, because I was in Zuldrak, and this level, I think it was level 70, whispered me and asked if I could help him do the Amphitheater of Blood. And I needed to go there anyway for Korak. But luckily, it seemed that I'd already done that on that alt. And I thought, well, yeah, sure, I'll do it for you. If you invite me, or if I invite you to the group, then at least I'll also get credit for that. So yeah, I just started it for him, or he started it for me as soon as I was there, and I just started killing things. and finished it, and he was very happy, and so was I, because he helped me out getting Korak. So yeah, that worked, and it was nice. And I saw the other faction there as well, but everyone is just waiting, because I think a lot of people now are just killing Korak in Zoldrak, because it's just easier. You have to be very lucky to get a group who wants to kill Korak, who's willing to do it. Most of the time people say, just skip it, we'll just do it in Northrend, don't care. So that's really what my week in World of Warcraft has been, but I am actually really enjoying it. There are so many other games that I want to play, but I really feel like I have to make the most of this Alterac Valley buff now that it's there. So that was that. Let's jump into a little bit of World of Warcraft news, because there's been quite some controversy out there. So let's start with, I guess, I don't know if it's good news or bad news. I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, so no one has to be afraid of that. But I will say that the look or the artwork for the jailer has been revealed, not by Blizzard, but by people from the community, and I guess someone, I mean, I don't know the entire story, but from the gist that I got was that someone in the community got hands on that image that someone took a picture of at the Blizzard headquarters, and decided to send that image to this this person in the community, this content creator, and then made a video about it. Which, you know, it's fair if you want to do that. I guess, you know, everyone is free to do what they want with their channels, with their media. But I do feel a little bit, I don't know, I think it's just a shame. I think it's really a shame that it's been shown, because it feels like it won't have the same effect in game now when it actually gets revealed what he looks like, and maybe, I mean, we don't have a name, but what he looks like, and what it could be referred to, and yeah, I don't know, it just feels a little bit spoiled. This is like a proper spoiler. I think, like with the big things, you don't want to have the big things really spoiled for you. At least I don't, personally. And I know that, you know, there are a lot of people will say, well, you don't have to watch the video, but you have to have really strong will to not give in to your curiosity, really. And I think a lot of people are also like, oh yeah, sure, you know, is that really a reveal? I doubt it. And then, you know, you see it and actually, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And okay, we don't know everything. We don't know the name. We don't know the story behind it or anything like that. But I don't know. I just feel it's a little bit like in bad taste. And is it just for the ratings, or I don't know. I don't know. For me personally, it leaves just a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, and I think it's a shame. I really think it's a shame that it's been done. I wish things like that weren't really either data mined, or just, you know, that I feel like is even taking it further by having it taken on a photo and then it's being sent to someone. I don't know, it just feels wrong. It feels wrong to me. So that's really it. I guess if you wanna find out what he looks like, you can now, but maybe if you're stronger willed than me, maybe not. If you don't want to get spoiled. Anyhow, let's go to a small other thing. So the Pilgrim's Bounty was active. I don't know if it's still active, but it was active in game, which is all, of course, based on Thanksgiving. And if you want to shoot those turkeys or become a turkey, you can do that now. I have to admit, because I've already have the pink Proto-Drake, I'm not too fussed. The only reason that I participated on that table that you can share all the food was just because it gives you an increase in gaining 10% extra experience a reputation experience. And that helps a lot if you still are trying to get your reputations up. I did a little bit for the Rust Bolt. I'm still not exalted with that. And yeah, I'm just not really looking forward for the fact that I still have to do Mechagon to get my Mecha Gnomes unlocked. I really don't fancy doing that. Even though I think, you know, with the guild I'm in, it will be really lovely to run it with, because the guys are really, really great and a lot of fun when we do mythics. For the few that I've joined, I'm not participating in all of them because I'm a horrible player in groups. I feel like I'm always letting people down, so I get massive anxiety about it. But so far, every time that they asked me to come along, it was a lot of fun, and they're lovely. So I'm sure that going to Mechagon with these guys will be great as well. And if you want to join this guild, you can do that. It's called a bit like Taliaphix on Argent Dawn. Just, you know, I think with the new guild system, it's very easy to find the guild that you're looking for and just apply to it, and then an officer will invite you. It doesn't matter what level you are, as long as you're, you know, not a shitbag, then you won't get kicked. That's basically it. But just be a nice person, and you'll be welcomed with open arms. So that's, yeah, it's been a great guild. My other guild is also still lovely. Just want to give a shout out to Immortalis as well, because the people there are also really nice. It's a bit quiet, I think, because, you know, I think everyone's waiting for 8.3, which is fair enough. But yeah, I think there's lovely guilds out there now, and it's nice to have a home with all of my alts, so that's good. Just the Horde side. The Horde side is lacking for me at the moment. Very quiet there for me. Anyhow, so that's that. And with that, I am now going to leave you with a lovely interview I had with Navii. And I love her name because it just reminds me of The Legend of Zelda. So I will leave you with that interview, and then afterwards I'll be back and we'll talk a little bit about what you guys are up to in-game. And with me today, after 3 times, and we've decided 3 times lucky, I finally have her as a guest. Welcome, Navii.
Hello.
Hello. First time, you know, it was scheduling, and then it was my fault, and now the third time it's all going to be perfect. That's what I'm going to think.
I hope so.
So Navii, why don't you tell the guests a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I have been playing World of Warcraft probably a good couple months into vanilla, so I've been playing since the very beginning, almost nonstop, and I'm in my early to mid 30s now, so things have changed quite a bit, but you know, still playing WoW and still going with it.
That's very, very good. That helps with talking about the game. Okay, are you Horde or Alliance, or have you switched maybe in the beginning? How did it?
I have always been Alliance.
Ah, okay. Why Alliance?
That's where my friends really started. We had a guild way back in the day, when like none of us really knew like what was really going on in the game. Just a couple of us friends came over from another game. We used to play Lineage 2 together. I think that's like, was it NCSoft game? Yeah. And then we tried out WoW, and at least I stuck around in it, and started to learn more about the game. And I just like, you know, just like to stay on Alliance. Like I did try Horde a couple of times, but I couldn't get into their storyline as much as the Alliance one, and just the Alliance color scheme and zones and stuff like that I find are just more appealing than the Horde areas. So that's pretty much why I went and stayed Alliance.
I've heard that from a lot of people, actually, that a lot of people said, well, you know, it's not so much even the races, even though some people do have issues with that on the Horde, but that they then go, well, yeah, I just can't get to grips with Orgrimmar, which, you know,
yeah, that's a tough area to be in. Like, even when you, like, you know, when you're attacking that zone, or you try to get in there to do that one fishing achievement, you know, like, it's a very confusing town to be in. I don't think really the Alliance has anything too equivalent to that.
No, I have to agree with that. Okay, so how did it all start for you? How did you start your love for World of Warcraft, which you've been playing for quite a while now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always loved video games. I don't know, I think I've been playing video games since I was like 5 years old. I started with like a Nintendo and all that kind of stuff. Always been a huge Zelda fan, so adventure type games have always been my thing. And then I don't know, like when PC games started coming out with like EverQuest and all that kind of stuff, that's, you know, when the world of like fantasy stuff kind of like opened up. So World of Warcraft just happened to be like, just I can't explain it. It just happened to be the one that just caught my attention the most. I think it was out of the games that were there, you know, because I did dabble in EverQuest a little bit. I think the user interface of World of Warcraft just made it a little more friendly and you know, just easier to get into, and the community back then was a lot more helpful, you know, so that helped a lot too.
Yeah. You know, it's odd because I actually also started, I think it was it EverQuest 2 that came out? Yeah. I actually, you know, I picked up Warcraft first, and then I think because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I love MMOs now. After that was my first MMO, I immediately picked up EverQuest as well. And you're right, there was just something about it that, even though it was a beautiful game, I just, you know, it was just different from Warcraft in the sense that, I don't know, maybe it was more friendly for newer players, or it was an odd one. It was really odd why that stuck more.
Yeah, and I think even though Warcraft has more of like the cartoon type graphics, it's still like draws you in, and with what they've done with like the lighting in the game, it still has like that realism to it.
Yeah.
So despite games like, you know, Final Fantasy being incredibly beautiful and realistic, like I think WoW just has that smoothness to it, you know?
Yeah. I can't but agree. It's really interesting because there's so much out there now with MMOs, and I don't know if you're the kind of person who also goes, oh, there's an MMO, let's see what it's like. But
right,
it's very difficult to get that feel that you get from World of Warcraft, at least from my point of view.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's start to talk about your topic of choice, which was going to be going from hardcore to casual, and the way that the community has changed. So why did you pick this topic?
I feel like with WoW Classic coming out, that it would be a great topic because, well, personally, like I feel like the nostalgia for WoW Classic might not be for Classic itself, but the community we had back then.
Okay, so what makes you say that? Why was the community different?
So when I started in Vanilla, you had more of, I mean, obviously there were more people playing the game, but you kind of just, everybody was on their own server, there wasn't cross-realm or anything like that, and you paid more attention to just what was going on your server. There, I mean, of course, everybody knew that there were other servers and that, you know, world guilds existed. Yeah, there was like top world guilds, but no one really cared as much about the world race as they did about what was going on their server. So you had more of a, you know, these are the top 5 or 10 guilds on your server. You know, that's where you wanted to be if you were into the raiding at that time. And that, like, you know, there were also PvP guilds at that time too. So you knew like who was there, and you know, those guilds did a lot of recruiting. They were very active in trade chat and everything, and a lot of people were more responsive in like, you know, the South Shore PvP areas. Like, you know, you could just yell and be like, hey, there's like 50 Horde here, or you could go back to Ironforge and be like, hey guys, there's a group of Horde in South Shore, you know, and everybody would just fly up to South Shore and you'd PvP for hours. So there was just a lot more communication and a lot more helpfulness within just the server, you know? So it's like, yeah, like I said, it's just, there was just more server attention rather than, oh my gosh, you know, method and limit world race kind of thing. No one really cared about that kind of stuff.
Would you say much more of a server identity?
Right, yes.
When I don't know if you've seen that, but I was browsing the forums actually this week, and I saw that there's a special part of Classic, of course. They would have that. But it's actually also a part that's almost like reconnect with your old friends from the old server. So for those that don't know, there's a part now on the Blizzard forums that you can go to, and it will say trying to reconnect with people from way back in Classic or Vanilla as it was. And you can pick, I'm trying to find people from the Alliance that I played with or the Horde, and then your servers and everything. And it's basically a place for, like for me, back in the day I played on Defiance Brotherhood, which was RP PvP on the Alliance side. And if people post there and say, okay, I used to be this was my name and this is what I used to play, I was in this guild, and it is so interesting to see certain names just pop up and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that person, because of course there was no sharding or anything like that, there was no realm hopping. And do you think that we've lost something with the whole realm connection, because I they did it back in the day because certain realms were dying? Yes. Or how do you feel about it all?
I absolutely think we lost server identities that way, especially with the big mistake that they made with the faction imbalance back in the day, where you had a lot of the top rating guilds ended up switching to Horde, like right after Burning Crusade and Lich King kind of thing. Like, you lost a lot of your alliance players, and then, again, with a lot of people wanting to be, server first guild to do this, that, and the other thing, they also switched servers. So yeah, I think we lost a lot of that because of a couple of things, and it's really sad because some people didn't have the means to move at the time, and so guilds broke up and you lost like half of your friends.
Yeah. That is really a shame how it has happened. I mean, I can understand why they've done it back in the day with certain things. How do you feel like, how is the community compared to back in the day, how it is now with how we are connected with realms? Do you feel that people have changed a lot, or are they still like the same attitude, or how do you feel about the community?
Well, the community has certainly changed a lot. You don't have people who are as helpful anymore. You have a lot of people who, their guilds are established and they kind of have an elitist attitude. So they're only looking for specific things. Like, yeah, I mean, it's always been, you always wanted to bring certain classes, certain specs, but I think more so these days it's been harder to fill in those spots, because it's not bring the player, not the class anymore. It's still, they've gotten away from that. It's still bring the class, because some specs just aren't as good, and you have people that just don't want to help each other out. It's because you don't have like those people with the older mentalities anymore, because sometimes the people have grown older, gotten families, and moved away from the game. And so you have the newer generations coming in, and I don't want to really say that the newer generations are necessarily bad people. They're just a little bit more kind of like into themselves and what's going on with them and what they need at the time. They're not so aware of other people may need help, like other people may not know the game as well, or other people, who have been in the game longer and are having trouble adjusting to changes, they may need a minute, like it's just there's not as much of an awareness on helping each other rather than helping yourself get to where you want to go.
What do you think has created that? Do you think that is just new players who've never experienced what it was like in vanilla, or even Burning Crusade for that matter? Or do you think that's just how the game started to create all of us now?
I really do believe it's the way the game has progressed, not necessarily how the people have progressed, because anything that you change in a game has a tendency to create a new type of culture. Way back in the day, you didn't have as many add-ons and information sources as we did now. So asking people, like, you had to ask people what to do. You couldn't really find that information on your own. But again, and at the same time, I kind of feel like add-ons might have been a bad thing for the game, especially with DPS add-ons. Like, okay, for example, Final Fantasy 14, you can actually get banned for having a DPS add-on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, people do use them, they just don't publicly say they're using them. But typically in Final Fantasy, you're not worried about your numbers. Whereas in WoW, that's all people focus on is numbers. So if you're in a group with somebody or in a raid and you're not pulling your numbers, you're gonna get kicked, you know? And that makes the game, I think, less fun because again, sometimes you're gonna push your friends aside because they might not be doing as good with numbers as some random pug. So I think things like that have helped create the culture that we're in now and some of the problems that we have now. Again, I'm not saying add-ons are necessarily a bad thing, but some of them could have contributed to the way we think about things and the way things have changed in the game and the community.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair enough. How do you think, is this something we can solve, or maybe Blizzard has to solve, or we as a community? Is it something that we could revert back to? Do you think maybe with the introduction again of Classic that people might change a little bit, or what do you think we could do?
That's a tough question because I think Blizzard kind of created the problem when they came out with Mythic rating. There was a time where they were kind of catering to the hardcore guilds because they realized that that kind of stuff brought in like revenue for them. You know, like that was kind of like their moneymaker. They didn't really, I don't want to say they didn't care about the casual player, but they didn't focus on the needs of the casual player as much as the hardcore player. And that was about the time where they got rid of like, you know, having 10 and 25 man raids, which, you know, having a 10 and 25 man raid was good because, you know, if you had a smaller guild, you can still do 10 man heroic and still have that similar experience to a 25 man heroic. Like, I understand from, you know, a development point of view where that could get difficult because you have to design, you know, basically 4 different raids because you had you had normal, heroic, and you only had normal and heroic. So you're designing normal and heroic 10-man versions and 25-man versions. So that's 4 different raids you have to design and try to keep balanced. Like, I understand that's difficult. However, I think that was the best way to go about it because, you know, then everybody has their choice. And now you only have like flex raids are good, you know, because now you could do normal or heroic with flex raids, which is fine. Like, that's cool, and it just kind of like balances out to how many people you have. But with Mythic being only 20 players, like, and especially nowadays, it's for some people it's really hard to get 20 people together even. You know, and like back in Classic, you had 40 people you had to get together. So that's another reason why I think people are going to have a difficulty with Classic is it's going to be a lot harder to get 40 people together, you know, with like everybody's being older and having new lives and all that. But that's, you know, that's another story. So yeah, but with the introduction of Mythic rating and all that kind of stuff, you isolate a lot of your player base, and it becomes more difficult to, because like the casual player kind of wants to do that, but they're just not going to be able to. And like I've even noticed a lot of the more hardcore guilds are even having trouble with the difficulty of Mythic. And it's like, yeah, Mythic is totally just designed for guilds like Method and Limit. Like, it's not designed for us. It's not.
Okay. Where would you say that you are at this point in time when it comes to your playstyle? Are you on the hardcore side or are you on the casual side?
I am definitely a casual now. I used to be hardcore, but that just doesn't fit into my life anymore, unfortunately. It was fun being hardcore back in the day. Like, for example, back in Vanilla, on my server, I used to be in one of the top 5 guilds. It was actually, I think, one of the top 3.
Wow.
We were able to, at least, I mean, I was one of the newer people in the guild and one of the lesser experienced, but I was still able to get in when Naxxramas came out. Like, that was, you know, the last raid that Vanilla put out. And I was able to experience some of that. I'm not sure I remember finishing it completely with my guild before they moved on, but I was definitely able to get in there for most of it, and it was a fun and exciting time. And then that continued on probably well into maybe Cataclysm. I was still in a pretty hardcore raiding guild. I don't know, it's still probably one of the top 10. And yeah, we definitely did the heroic content. I remember, getting all the all the achievements and stuff for it. But then, just like people moved off. I think in Cataclysm is when a lot of people moved off of my server in particular, and that's when a lot of horde guilds started coming to my server, which made it extremely difficult. And then by the time Mists of Pandaria rolled around, towards the end of that, I ended up switching servers because there were just too many horde on the server, and it was impossible to get anything done. And that, again, that was before they put in war mode. Had they put in war mode sooner, I would never have left the server that I was on.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because you also get rid of a little bit of the server identity, making people who want to do, like, for instance, back when it first came out, like world quests or anything like that, or dailies even, it becomes harder when there's a server imbalance on a PvP server.
Absolutely. Like, I'm not one to shy away from PvP. I don't mind it. But when you have that kind of imbalance, like when it's literally 10 to 1, and like, I'm not even exaggerating, because you could look up the server statistics from back then, and many people did. And it proved that it was literally 10 to 1, Horde versus Alliance at that time. Whereas before, it was almost 50-50. And that's what made those South Shore battles and stuff like that. That's what made those like hours and almost days long sometimes, is because it was such an even number that, you could just do that. But then again, when people decided to start switching servers for whatever reason, everything became imbalanced, and that was a problem that I think Blizzard addressed too late.
Do you think, with Kata being so close, and probably by when this interview will launch, it will probably already be out, do you feel that with the launch of Classic, the attitude of the community will change?
I'm really not sure. I don't know, because it's gotten to a point where it's been so long since, vanilla. It's been so long that I don't really know how many of the original players are going to come back to that. Classic being the game that it is, I don't think people realize how time consuming it is, and it does take up a lot of time. And I'm not sure, being the ages that most of us are now, and most people having families and bigger careers, I don't know if they're really gonna have the time to put into that. So I don't know how the community is really gonna change. I think, though, again, like I said, people just want that nostalgia for the community, not necessarily for the experience of Classic itself. And I can only hope that the people who are going to be playing Classic will be as helpful to other players, because you're also going to have players who have never played Classic before. So I really hope that there will be people willing to help those people, because Classic is going to be very intimidating, because I don't think people realize how many quality of life changes we've had as WoW has progressed, and it's going to be difficult. You're not going to have your quests highlighted on the map. You're not going to know where to go half the time. You're going to have to rely on Wowhead a lot, and you're going to have to rely on other people to help you out. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these people who are used to doing things on their own and just knowing where to go, like, it's going to be interesting to see how they fare, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it does change, and maybe those people will come back to, regular WoW and bring that with them. That's what I hope for, but that may take some time.
Yeah, I can't but agree that would be interesting to see when we're about probably like a month, maybe 2 months into Classic, to see what will happen then. But yeah, let's see how it changes maybe everything. Okay, so Navii, do you have anything else to say about this topic before I jump into the Battle for Azeroth questions?
You know, it's just, again, like I said, it's just, you know, I really do hope the community can get back to some of what it was. It's really a shame what happened to it. I mean, you always hear about, you know, the toxicity of it all, and it's not as bad as some other games. Like, you know, I jumped into Heroes of the Storm for a little bit, and it's pretty bad over there, not gonna lie. So I don't play that as much, but it's just, it's rough. It's definitely rough these days, because even trying to hug groups like for like a Mythic Plus or something like that, people are very, very picky on who they want to bring, and you know what? They have every right to be. But at the same time, you know, you have more casuals in the game, I think, than ever before. Like, you know, whether it be life circumstances or just fun for them. And I really think Blizzard just needs to do a better job making things a little more accessible. Not necessarily like, you know, like Raid Finder is there, so yeah, you can say, oh, if you want to experience the raid, just do Raid Finder. But you know, that's not the only thing that casuals want to do. Like, if we're not, you know, into raiding anymore, you know, another way to get the gear is Mythic Plus. But then again, you also have people excluding certain people from Mythic Plus because you're not the right gear score or what have you, you know, like that kind of thing. So, you know, I think a lot of people need to start helping people, you know, help people get that gear, help them get better, because you may be missing out on somebody that has really great player potential and you're just discounting them because of their item level, you know. So that's basically all I'd have to say on that.
Well, I think that's a very good way to finalize the topic, and yeah, it would be nice if people start helping others a little bit more, and not just think about the numbers. Okay, so let's jump into Battle for Azeroth. So if you had to pick, what are you the most impressed with, and what are you the least impressed with when it comes to the new expansion?
I'm least impressed with, probably like everybody else, the Azerite gear system. I don't think it was a good thing, because of the massive RNG with the gear. Same thing with the benthic gear. Like, you know, there's gear pieces that are obviously way more helpful than others, and it's just incredibly difficult to try and get those pieces that you want. And even with the inclusion of the Titan Residuum stuff, like, it's incredibly expensive to get the actual piece that you want. Like, rather than using the Titan Residuum to get the random piece of gear and take a chance, which costs less, to get the actual piece that you want, I believe when I looked at it, it was 200,000.
Ooh, ouch.
And I've been disenchanting gear that I don't need, like, constantly, and I think I only have maybe, I don't know, 4,000 or 6,000. And I'm like, 200,000? Like, who's running enough stuff to get 200,000 Residuum? Like, that's an insane amount of time and effort. Get that one piece. Like, I understand it's a 430 piece of, like, what you want, but that's still a lot. Like, that's a lot to ask of any person. You know, like, how many Mythic Pluses do you have to be doing to be getting all that gear to scrap or disenchant just to get that 200,000 for one single piece? You know, like, it's an absolute lot. And I think what I miss most about some of the previous expansions was the token system.
Okay.
You know, when you were raiding, you got tokens from the bosses or whatever, and you can go to the vendors, like the honor tokens and the valor tokens. That, I think, was a better system, because it allowed you to still, you know, if you got the piece of gear from the raid, great. If you didn't, you got the tokens, and it just took you a little bit longer to acquire them and exchange them for the piece if we wanted.
But it still had the set stats, didn't it? Because you couldn't fiddle with those.
Exactly, it did. It had set stats, and it wasn't, hey, buy this piece, open it up, and you're either really lucky or you're screwed for another couple of weeks. You know, like, the RNG on the gear, it's really disappointing. Because, again, it's so time consuming, and there are so many things to be doing in the game. You know, you don't want to be spending most of your time just trying to get this one perfect piece of gear, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you had to pick something that you are impressed with?
Let's see. Oh, the island expeditions.
Okay.
I think they're really fun. I am kind of upset that the drop rate for the mounts and pets are pretty piss poor. Even though, like, a couple months in, they said, oh, hey, we increased the drop rate, and they also included the treasure map, which, by the way, the treasure map is a bunch of bull, because all I've ever gotten from the treasure map is azurite or gold, or, what's it called? Titan Residum, some of it. I have never, ever received a pet or mount from the treasure map, and I know a lot of my friends have never gotten anything like that either. Some of them have gotten some of the gear pieces, like pieces, but I don't understand what Blizzard's problem is exactly with people getting these mounts from the island expeditions, because, like, I have run them constantly, and I know there are other people who run them way more than I do and still cannot get a single mount from these island expeditions. Like, if you're gonna put that many mounts, because I think there's a lot of them, there's more than 5, I'm not sure if it's 10, but there's quite a few mounts from those island expeditions. So why would you put that many in the game for something that's only going to last this expansion? Because no one really knows how you're going to go about those island expeditions to get those items that you're missing in the next expansion. Like, how you, I mean, I guess you could just take 3 people and queue up for it, because I don't really foresee that many people actually queuing for an island expedition. So that's something, like I said, I really do like the island expeditions, but the drop rates of the things you're going after, I'm pretty disappointed in. I do like the storyline of Battle for Azeroth, especially the Alliance side. I have no idea what's going on the Horde, and I am actually leveling a Horde to 120 just to get that one achievement that gives you the 2 mounts. But I've recently stopped that. But the Horde side is definitely a little harder to understand. It's not as cohesive as the Alliance thing. And again, this is my problem with Horde versus Alliance. The Horde quests and stories, they're just not as cohesive as the Alliance ones for some reason. At least in my opinion. Some people are going to be like, oh my god, she's just bashing the Horde so much. No, this is all my opinion, unfortunately. And I know some Horde players are definitely going to agree. Maybe others definitely won't, because everybody to each their own. But the Alliance storyline, I think, has progressed really well. I would like to see, I think it's been very slow, the progression of the story. But it is a good story, and I want to see how it ends. I want to see how it finishes. I'd like to know what's going on with Malfurion and Tyrande right now, be it they're not my favorite Alliance characters, especially as of recently, but I would really love to see where it's going. Like, what have they been doing this whole time? How's it going to end with Jaina? You know, like all that kind of stuff. I want to know how it's gonna, how the end of this is gonna happen.
Okay, good. Do you have any good tips for anyone listening when it comes to Battle for Azeroth?
Tips. I would say really just have fun with it. Because it's really, you know, a lot of people aren't really playing so much anymore. It died down a lot. So just have fun with the experience. with Mechagon and Nazshar being out now. They're really great zones to explore. They're very fun. Definitely keep up on your Heart of Azeroth, because that's a key thing. But yeah, definitely just have fun with it, honestly. There's so much to explore and so much to do. And with the 2 new zones, there's rares aplenty to kill every day. Pets, items, if you're into that. It's really fun. And it's just a good thing to do.
That sounds like a good tip to me. Okay, now we've talked about the community already a little bit, but what has the Warcraft community meant to you?
The Warcraft community, it's been a place where I've found a lot of friends. And I actually met my current boyfriend playing World of Warcraft.
Okay.
It's something I'm a little shy about admitting, but here we go, world. I've been in a relationship for the past almost 10 years because of World of Warcraft.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I mean, I think about it, and there's no reason to be embarrassed about, meeting your current partner from a video game, because you have those dating apps and websites. You've got Tinder, which, you've got, Match.com. You've got all these, internet ways of meeting someone, and a lot of people do that these days. So there's nothing to be ashamed of about meeting your friends and your loved ones in a game now, because I feel like, just as much as of a social dating app can be, World of Warcraft is just as much a social device. And I would say I would not be where I am right now if it were not for World of Warcraft.
That is actually a really nice way of saying that. I like that. Okay, now we get to the final and the weird question, really. At least it sounds weird, but it's just, more like a wish, really. So the question is, what is your whisper? And your whisper can be basically anything regarding to World of Warcraft. So it could be a wish that you might have for the game, or where you want the story to progress to, or any game mechanics that might need to come back or be taken out. What would be your whisper?
Well, I have played a balanced druid since Burning Crusade, and so I have, it's my favorite thing. I love being a moonkin. I've played it no matter how crappy and nerfed they decide to make it. I've constantly played it no matter how bad it is. A couple of gripes that I've always had is they've revamped so many models in the game. They've constantly ignored the moonkin. And now they're doing like, they've even said it a couple BlizzCons, moonkins, you're on our radar, we got you, we're gonna overhaul you. We got so excited when they overhauled cat and bear form. Like, they completely redid the skeletons of those two forms. And they gave them the HD upgrade, and even since that overhaul, bear and cat have been upgraded as well. And with Legion, all those new forms that they got from their weapons, Moonkin was hoping to get the same treatment, and we never did. All we got was an HD model upgrade. They never overhauled our skeleton. We did not get form changes with our weapon with Legion, which a lot of people were upset about, and the excuse was, oh, well, you can see your staff. I was like, but no, also shift into a form, and we think it would be really cool to have that customization as well. We can't even change our skin color like bear and cat can, like with the hair color. Bear and cat change colors with your hair color. Moonkin doesn't do that. We're just one color based upon what race we are. And even that flight form from Legion is just one color, whereas other races, classes, and specs got multiple colored mounts from their thing. It's like that's kind of like, that's my one wish, is Moonkin customization. Give me some color options, like give me customization so that I can have as much fun as my counterparts having to be like, because I like Moonkin form. A lot of people are like, Glyph of Stars if you don't like it. And it's like, no, I like Moonkin form, but I want to be able to change it up a little bit, you know? Give me like the option to be a white Moonkin, you know?
That would be cool.
Yeah, those colors are in the game, so there's no reason why that shouldn't be an option, you know? And I would like a little more attention to the Moonkin form itself. You know, like I said, I'm thankful for the HD upgrade, but I think more can be done with it. I really think it deserves a little bit of love, especially with all the new upgrades. And again, Moonkin upgrades had been talked about by Blizzard well before, you know, a revamp to Goblin and Worgen were on the scale there.
Mm-hmm.
One more gripe I have with Moonkin form is that when you're on a mount, it actually makes the mount a little bit smaller. It's harder to see, like, you know, if any developer should actually ever happen to hear this, listen, you've spent so much time and effort detailing those mounts. Why would you want to make it smaller underneath a ginormous Moonkin? Then you can't see it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it scale like it does for a Tauren. Make the mount just a tiny bit bigger so that it fits underneath the Moonkin. You know? Like,
Yeah.
Don't make it smaller. That just, I mean, it's silly. Some people think it's cute, you know, but I kind of want to see the mount I'm on. And while I'm, again, grateful that a Moonkin can even mount in the first place, I would really like to see the mount that I'm on as well.
Yeah, I've played Moonkin for many a year, so I completely feel you on that one.
Yeah, that would be my wish right there.
Okay. Well, let's hope that Blizzard is listening and that, you know, we'll get a nice surprise soon, I hope.
Yeah, one can hope.
Fingers
It only
crossed.
took them 2 years to put the Moonkin plush in the store.
True. Yeah, I know. It's a bit, I don't know, it's so iconic, so I would have liked to see them a lot earlier, but...
It really is. The Moonkin, as much as people love it or hate it, it is an icon, and I think it's here to stay. A lot of people will say, like, oh, Blizzard made such a mistake putting the Moonkin form in as Druid's caster form, but I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's a wonderful thing. You know, it's very special, and I really, really hope that they give it a little love, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that one. And, you know, who could forget all those videos from Vanilla on YouTube with the laser chickens coming over the hill in the battlegrounds?
Absolutely.
That was amazing. So, no, I agree. Okay, so Navii, thank you so much for the interview. If people want to find you on the interwebs, where can they reach out to you?
Well, I'm pretty much only active on Twitter, so my Twitter handle is @EternalMoonkin, all one word, no caps, no numbers. I really don't post. I mean, I post like every day. Who am I kidding? It's a lot of my pets. So I apologize if you did hear my dogs barking in the background. They're crazy. So I post my pet pictures. I do post some WoW stuff, just my everyday musings of what goes on. So it's not all WoW stuff, but there's definitely a good amount of gaming-related content.
Okay, perfect. And I'll make sure that is all in the show notes for everyone to find you. And again, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest.
Absolutely, I really appreciated it.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and let's jump into the section that is all about you guys. So on Twitter I posted the question of the week, and this time it wasn't really a question of the week because I had a completely different question in my head, but I actually got a lot of reactions to my random question that I just threw out, which was basically my post saying that I was still leveling in Alterac Valley, and I was very curious what you guys were up to in a game, and you guys replied a lot. So let's start with the first ones. Spanky Hunter said, just the usual, PvP for Conquest Cap, then chasing mounts and achievements in old raids. We can 2-man all of the mythic Nighthold except Gul'dan. Just need one more person for him, so started farming for the mount. Nice. Working on raid achieves for Tomb of Sargeras now. Nice. You know what? I haven't really consciously done anything for achievements yet, or farmed any mounts anymore. But there's so much to do in game. I'm like, oh yeah, after AV and leveling, maybe I could do that. But then I want to do this. Like, I don't understand how people can say that there's no content. I don't get it. I'm just always busy. Nick Z said 40 badges to go for the AV mounts. Then there'll be a push on 2 to 4 alts to level. Still have to get the DW mounts. Which one is that? Which one is that? Oh, the Deathwing. The Deathwing mount. Then back to Mechagon. So you still have to do the event, I guess. The time walking event for that. I hope you get it before it runs out. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. The Holiday Good Girl said, I'm also using AV to level. I took 5 Qs to get from 112 to 120. Going to work on my Gnome Death Knight over the holidays. That's the thing, guys. Now that we're going to get like Death Knights from other races, I might have to get into that again. I have an unholy Death Knight, and I suck so much at Death Knight. Like, honestly, I suck so much. So yeah. I'll have to see what I can do with that. She continues, oh, and I got my AV Wolf Ram mount last night as well, so nice one. Savation said, I had lots of fun sneaking around on my leveling druid in Alterac Valley. Will be interested to see how my Demon Hunter and Warrior compare. Let me know. Let me know how they compared. Dreadlord Acid said, I just leveled my Dark Iron from 110 to 120 in the span of 5 or 6 or so AV sessions, sitting at 80% on the mount progress, so that's my current focus. Also slowly working on Mage in Classic. Nice one that you're still in Classic. Like I said, I want to go back. I really want to get my either my Druid or my Hunter up to 60, but at the moment it's all about the AV for me. Professor Talib said, I've been leveling too, finding my gnomes and my night elf fire mage get attacked killed more often than others. But I'm having fun. Never did PvP before, and I like riding around in a big group and shooting at things. It's that mob mentality, isn't it? That's like I feel a little bit when I'm on my own. Like, oh, I'm very vulnerable right now. I prefer to go where the big group is. But I don't like it when the big groups fight in the middle of the lake. I'm like, no, let's just go tower capping, because at least you get experience from that. Sai said, I'm prepping for the Christmas holiday event. I just need to get my Violet Proto Drake, and this is the year. Well, good luck for that. I hope that you get it. Tom M said, leveling my Pandarian Monk, then the Troll Shaman. So everyone seems to be leveling at this point in time. It's the perfect time for it, you know? Jump into an Alterac Valley and just play the game a bit, even if you're not a PvPer. You know, even if you get killed over and over again, it's still experience. Even when you're dead, you get experience, so it's not too bad. And that's it. I am going to call that a show. So, guys, thank you so much for sending in your tweets. I always really appreciate it, and for listening and for sharing. I've seen that as well. It is so much appreciated. Now, I have run out of pre-recorded interviews, so I am looking for new or old guests who want to return. I am happy with anyone who wants to come on the show. My one requirement, of course, is that you have, time, that would work. Have something to say about World of Warcraft, whether it's a critique. I am all for critique. If you want to have a moan about something, that is fine, but we are also about how could we improve that. What would you want to see improve, really? Because, you know, you can have critique, but we don't have to be all negative Nancy's. And I think a good microphone, that helps a lot, if I have to be honest. So if you feel like you have a good microphone and you have something to say about World of Warcraft, then send me a DM. Honestly, it's that easy, and it's really not that scary. I've had so many people, guests on, who are really nervous in the beginning to talk, but it's just like talking to your friends or your guildies about World of Warcraft. You don't have to worry about anything. You all know how awkward I am anyway, so we can both be awkward and it will be great. So don't worry about that. But yeah, if you've been a guest in the past, just, give me a prod. We'll make this happen. I am trying out some new recording methods. So I've my lovely fellow colleagues, podcast colleagues from Dragon Powered Studios, they said that Squadcast is really good. Now, the only issue I have with Squadcast is that it actually asks you for a video. No one needs to see my face when I'm interviewing them, because I often do that in my PJs and I look like crap. So, yeah. I think it's quite intimidating for people to have a video there immediately, and you can't really shut it off. So, Zencaster is another one I've been looking at, but maybe you guys have different opinions, because I feel like Zoom sometimes is letting me down when it comes to the quality of the recordings. But I'm open for anything, and if you guys say, you need to go with Squadcast, I will. But if you have other recommendations, just let me know. Let me know before I commit to anything with money-wise and things like that. Because, I do want to get... Maybe that's the Dutch person in me. I do want to get something for my money that's worth it. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to all of that, trying out some new stuff. And with that, I'm going to leave you guys. Now, where can you find the show? Of course, go to whispersofwar.podbean.com, where you can find all the other shows and you can follow the show. Twitter, of course, at whispers_of_war, or my personal one, which is McMonkeys, MC Monkeys with a Z. Email whispersofwarpodcast@gmail.com, twitch.tv/McMonkeys with 2 Zs. And of course, why don't you want to be part of our Discord channel and have a chat with all of us and participate in lots of things? You will also see a lot of free games that are being shared, tips where you can get free games and stuff like that. So go to dragonpoweredstudio.com/Discord and join our Discord and be part of all the fun. And that's it. So guys, thank you again for listening, for downloading, for sharing, and for participating on the Twitter conversations that we have. I'm really loving it. So yeah, and I hope that everyone is starting to prepare for Christmas, because we are now in December, and I'm just happy because I could start my advent calendar. And every day starts perfect when you can have some chocolate. Just a little bit of food for fall. And that's it. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.